Jim Rogers extends. Jim Rogers is the chairman of Beeland Interests, Inc. and the creator of Rogers International Commodities Index. He is a well-known American investor, analyst, financial writer, and co-founder of the Quantum Fund. Rogers, a longtime opponent of the Fed Reserve practices and a realist when it comes to the economic cycles and histories, continues to provide somber updates on what he perceived to be an impending catastrophe. He provides a dire warning about the negative implications of the recent unchecked money printing that has occurred in the U.S., examines the effect on the economy, and offers his thoughts on how to handle different asset classes in the environment. According to Jim Rogers, a meltdown is likely to happen soon, and the consequences for Americans are dire. The amount of money printed by central banks around the world has never increased so steadily and unpredictably in the course of human history. Money printing has occurred on multiple occasions, but there have never been so many central banks consuming so much money at once. And regardless of how we feel about it, all of that money must be spent. James Rogers claims that being aware that it will eventually end and that many people will suffer when it does prevents me from genuinely enjoying it. Even myself, possibly. I sincerely hope I never have to, but I'm aware that many other individuals may face extremely challenging circumstances. Roger went on to explain that bubbles are starting to develop and that all the signs are starting to align. Because it is often believed that one may get wealthy through stock trading easily and rapidly, there has been recently an influx of new investors. Then the SPACs in the stock market rise, which frequently happen near the conclusion of protracted bull markets. Special Purpose Acquisition Companies, or SPACs, are established to raise money through an IPO or initial public offering in order to buy another business. SPACs have been around for 300 years, but whenever a long bull market happens, they typically recover. Rogers remarked, "This is not my first rodeo and it's happening again, but it does always come to a close. Warfare is one of the numerous new developments that may cause people to withdraw their money from the markets. It is hoped that the central banks would realize their error, change their minds, and decide to stop creating money, start raising interest rates, and cut back on their expenditures as suggested by Rogers." Rogers continued by stating that there are some variables that have historically contributed to this predicament. Formerly, some people would have taken notice when the central bank raised interest rates 3 times in a succession. I haven't sold out or sold short yet. I'm unsure if that will ultimately be the case, but I'm keeping my eye on it like everyone else. But because I see bubbles forming in numerous countries and in numerous asset classes that are occurring practically everywhere, I'm pretty concerned, commented Roger. For instance, the Chinese have borrowed, printed, and spent a sizable amount of money despite exercising a little more prudence than others. As a result, nearly everyone has been engaging in it to some degree. Rogers also noted that America frequently experiences a correction, followed by a panic in the central bank, which leads to the issuance of more currency and severe blow-off. Blow-offs usually happen when the market spirals out of control, and during this time, everything's worth rises daily. Central banks panic when conditions deteriorate, but their primary concern is maintaining their positions. They care less about regular people and more about keeping their careers. So if they suddenly got worried, they could just print more money and buy more stuff. Throughout history, blow-offs have occurred regularly in the world, continually. Rogers, in my current form, I believe that this will collapse before it comes to an end. Stick to your strengths if you want to survive the crisis unscathed. If you don't have a firm plan in place, you risk being thrown into every conceivable direction, and I don't know what's happening or you should be doing, leave. You don't have to be in the marketplace all the time. Yeah, you might for a while miss out on a few things, yet if things go horribly wrong, it's better to miss something temporarily than to lose everything. Without a doubt, America is the world's largest debtor nation, which is bad, according to Rogers. With the conclusion of World War II, America had substantial savings that had been pushed by both the war and the Depression, as well as sizable debts. Because of the limitations and guidelines put in place during the war, America had a sizable savings to assist balance its massive debt. America built a number of industries after the war when it used savings to pay off its debt. America previously had the capacity and resources to reduce its debt. Roger claims, however, that the United States currently has neither significant savings nor spare capacity. He went on to add that compared to the late 40s, America's current situation is very different. America has the largest national debt in human history and a worldwide overextended military. Compared to the 1940s, America has military stationed in more than 100 countries now. The United States as a whole is doing actions that could, in the long run, result in it having problems. It might be a stretch to call it the end of the American empire, but it might be the pinnacle, according to Rogers. If that is the case, the United Kingdom dominated both the global economy and military in the 1920s. It declared bankruptcy 50 years after its triumph. The UK, once the richest and most powerful country in the world, needed help from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Continually, Rogers, what has occurred throughout history is likely to occur again. Outside my window, I can see the debt, and it isn't getting any better. Instead, it is getting worse. America will surely change, just as the British did, but it still will be there. I can certainly see why extensive financial planning has consistently caused inflation throughout history. Rogers is prepared for inflation and has anticipated it. He has said some silver and gold in his possession and that he has been investing in commodities. Commodities, in his opinion, are currently the only asset class with a fair price. The cost of bonds, on the other hand, has never been this high and is a bubble. While equities are only beginning to show signs of bubble building, real estate is already a big bubble in many parts of the world. Commodities are the sole sector in which prices are still acceptable and there is no bubble. Inflation has historically been brought on by the printing of money, and if you own the goods whose prices rise, you could profit significantly. Though America was printing a lot of money and overspending at the time, the situation was never as dire as it is today. History shows pretty decisively that when nations get overextended militarily, financially, or politically, substantial changes typically occur. The opposite side may benefit, but not always for the better. Rogers responded when prompted to elaborate, "Staying prepared is possible if one is careful. The majority of the time, historical events do not replicate themselves. Every time you look back in time, you can see that there have been protracted periods when commodity prices grew for a while before falling for a protracted period of time. Maybe this time of year is here again. You don't really care about how something appears when you possess it and it appreciates in value. The only thing that matters is that you own it and are making money from it."